Ani ane pikoi ka honua, nawe aku nawe la, nawe na hoa. Ahiki ke kai onu alolo, e oi koi no hiki mai ne au, nawe aku nawe la, nawe na hoa. Aloha kakahia kakako. Aloha. Aloha. O wau no sebra loa ana kauka mai kawa I mai. He po'o'au na palikos ohana. I have the fun of presiding over a group of, a community group called the Palikos Ohana. There we go. And this is the area that I'm going to be talking about today. On the Napali coast. This is Nuololokai here, this coastal valley here. On the left, we have a ridge called Alapi'i. Alapi'i means ladder, yeah? On the top here, this mountain peak is called Kamaile. On the west side of this mauna, this ridge over here is called Makua'iki. Makua'iki. On this side over here, this is Miloli'i. On this side here, this valley, and this is the valley here that Moana is an archaeologist. She's going to be talking about Nuololo Aina. Between this valley, Aina, and Nuololokai, this whole thing formed one ahupua'a. And within this division of land, the 100, 200 villages who lived there for 900 years, continuous occupation. 900 years continuous occupation. They had all the resources. Helimai! Helimai! Helimai. So within this ahupua'a of Nuololo Aina and Nuololokai, they had all the resources they needed to live. Because on the Makai side, this is the largest fringing reef on the Napali coast. This reef right here. And at low tide, it's exposed, quite a bit exposed. It's a very rich reef. Right over here in the Napali, these currents, they really run fast over here. This is my favorite place in the whole world, right here, in this area, to Auaukai. Because it's so protected and it's so beautiful. And it's so clean. And Helimai! This is Moana. Moana Lee is my co-presenter. She's my longtime friend, and she's an archaeologist who donates her time here to Nuololo Kai and Nuololo Aina.
Hi, Sabra, so this is on the north shore?
Kauai, yeah. She actually has a better picture of that. This is on the north shore of Kauai. And it is accessible only by sea, which is one reason I love it so much. Because when we formed Napali Coastal Ohana, we started cleanups in Hanakapiai, Hanakoa, and Kalalau. And we did that for many years. But every year we would go in and we would haul out tons of trash. We'd carry it down to the beach, bag it up for the helicopter to pick up, or for the commercial boats to come and pick up. But I could never understand how people could go camping in there and haul all this opala up. And to tell you the truth, it began to make me hoo-hoo loa. And you know, certain stage in life, you just not going to volunteer to put yourself in situations that make you hoo-hoo. So we worked very closely with the State Parks archaeologist, Alan Carpenter, and he said, well, you know, there's this old village site down the coast, and it needs care. And so, Tita, you can hit the next button for me because the clicker doesn't work. All right. So this is a Google map of the site. It's a different perspective, but we had Dr. Ev Wingert at University of Hawaii, Geography Department, who came in with a team of grad students who mapped this area for us. They did the contour maps. So the Pali is very steep going down. This is Kamaile right there. Alapi'i going down here. That big fringing reef. And then Makua'iki on this side. This is a very narrow channel. So only the small boats can go in. The Zodiacs. We go in by Zodiac on the west side. There's only 3 boats who can land here, commercial landing. But the fishermen come, the hunters come, And we encourage the hunters to take out, there's a resident goat population. And then some of the smaller tour boats have moorings out here. And they come in and they snorkel, but they don't land. There's no kayak landing over here. Next one, babe. This is a view from the west side of the valley. You see this beautiful bay over here. And you can see where all the fresh water comes down. Normal coral, and it's open. That's why there's fresh water that comes down underground. You don't see any water running. You don't see any water running on top of the ground. It's all underground, coming through here to keep it open. Our first trip to Nuololokai was 20 years ago this month. Wow. 20 years ago this month. And I have to mahalo hui malama and tipua, hale aloha, that whole team, because it was a result of federal legislation of NAGPRA, that Native American Graves Repatriation and Protection Act, that required that the kupuna iwi from all over, any institution, any museum, university, school, anybody that had ancestral remains were required to return those remains to their place of origin. And so it was 20 years ago this month that we took the first reinterment back to Nuololokai. And they had, there was Alan Carpenter on that trip, Hale Aloha, Atwood Makalani, all Kauai boys. Well, Makalani's Kauai boy. Alan Carpenter, Mo Majors, and the Wahine were Nancy McMahon, and Martha Yen, they're both archaeologists. Myself, Kaya Pua, and I think that was pretty much it. So we went in by Zodiac, and when we landed at this place, it was all overgrown. You couldn't see the ruins that you're going to see today. And in the cover of darkness, the boys took the iwi up to the pali. We had two tags, we had two sets of iwi. One said Nuololokai Pali in the cliff. The other said Nuololokai in the flats. And where we're going to take you and show you today is pictures of places that we don't normally in fact, it's the first time we've ever shown them in public. Because they're beautiful and they're sacred, and the focus of my talk today is primarily on Hina, because this is a Kuhinapapa. So it's given us a different perspective on things and our involvement. Okay, so we're gonna, you see these pine trees over here? So what we do, we unload all our gear here, and then we hapai down to these pine trees. This is where we camp. And when we go in, we go for a 5-day work trip. My anchor weekends are Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend. We go in on a Thursday morning, 5:00. We, the 3 commercial boat companies that have permits to land there are required as a condition of their permit to support our efforts. But it's more than, you know, even if there wasn't a requirement, they kokua us because they know we malama this place and they actually enjoy the benefits, you know, of the place with their commercial tours. So every year there's one company that always, in addition to supporting, bringing in the work teams, he gives us a donation, and that's what we use to pay for the food. We, you know, Hawaiians, we work for free, but you gotta feed them. Okay, so this is another perspective. Oh my goodness, this picture was taken by a dear friend of mine who has since passed. His name is David Boynton. How are you? Wrong. Okay. But you see over here, okay, this is, these are pine trees over here. Now I want you to notice that there's hardly any pohaku on this beach. And yet there's tons of pohaku from here and around. Because as we go through, you're going to see where those pohaku went. Those are all building materials. And so when Moana comes in, she comes in with us, we haul her stuff out here, then we walk her around here along the edge, and then she jumps off here and swims around to Aina. And she's going to show us some pictures of that access because it's hairy. It's hairy. And I have to know that you are fit, that you can not only swim, but you can hapai plenty ukana. that you can land on a boulder beach, that you can climb up the pali and back in the valley, and that you can camp out for 5 days with no, you know, nothing fancy. I mean, this is really the IT. Hi, good morning, dear. Okay, next item. This is one of the sites that Moana came in to map for us. This site is called Kamaine. Okay, this is a procreation site. So what we did for her, you see all this nahele over here. The boys came in and we weed whacked, pulled all this weed so that she could see these features. What you want to say about this? I got 3 more pictures of this, so.
Okay.
Okay, go. Okay. Okay, this is Nobeokai holding the tape for Moana. This is a platform that comes out from the Ku and the Hina stone. Here she is doing her thing. This beautiful Ku stone. And over here is Kamaine. This is her kohei. And in this kohei are the prettiest little ili, tiny little ili. They didn't just happen there. They were placed there. And they're right in here in her kohei. And over here there's a little seat. And I don't know if the wahine went hanao over there or what, but it's just kind of perfect. Right height, right everything.
Yeah. When we first went out there, and what we noticed was Kamaila and Ku, and eventually what we saw was there was a large flat in front of there, and there's a large platform that's there. We're not sure whether the platform was being built or whether it was being taken apart. But this, every time you go up there, it sits above, and she can see everything. She sits right below the middle of the peak of Kamaina. And from this seat, you can see the whole bay, the complete bay, both sides, from Alapi'i to Makua'i'i. And just right down the slope from this are 2 sister stones, and we have found to be a habitation site of statue, the Kentucky. And this is all part of that one complex. So this was what we took care of. But you get up there and it's chicken skin.
Okay. I mean, the degree of detail. She has so much patience. You would never know she has patience. She has so much patience to stand there on the outside. And when she goes up for the whole day. And because I told her, you know what, at least carry a walkie-talkie. So if anything, you think, whatever, walkie-talkie, we know, yeah? But she'll go up and she'll be alone the whole day. And only the most intrepid will go up and check on her. Because it's the height of the slope to go check on her. She carries a walkie-talkie, but she rarely turns it on.
They call me and bother me all day long. Are you okay?
You got water, you got food, just candy bars. And one of the things that, we learn in preparing for this aha, when Mehan Okala emailed me and she said, Auntie, I want you to please, gather the Kauai, Wahine, and lead the protocol for Kauai. And I went, yikes. And for Hina, and I had to go through my repertoire. It's like, oh, I don't know enough only for Hina, And then, because I got these wonderful people, Malia Nopoi, Mehana Blake, all these incredible, Kainani, Kahaunane, all these wonderful, beautiful young people, Aku, Me aloha, ho'omanau nui. I haven't seen her yet. Maybe she's here today. Okay, cool. And with their repertoire, their umpteen years of study and knowledge and focus, because my focus has been on laka, with hula. And yeah, they're related, but we've learned so much in this process of preparing for this aha. And there's so much to learn. realizing then, okay, so I asked them, so what are the kinoma of Hina? What is the ho'okupu? What are the ho'okupu that's appropriate to Hina? Okay? White coral became one of them. We find beautiful pieces of white coral scattered around in the walls. And it wasn't carried there by tidal wave, because there's other places on the flats, there was tidal wave action. But we find these beautiful, beautiful little pieces of coral in the walls at Kamaile and all those other places. One other thing about Kamaile before I leave this section. Kamaile, the name of the tallest peak. Kamaile, the name of this Hina and Ku stone. Kamaile was also the name of a heiau that's in the ocean off of Pupukahi I. There's a similar site that marks this. Kamaile was the name of a chiefess of Nualolo. And she was engaged to be married to a local young man. But there was a chief who came from Tahiti who fell in love with her. She was beautiful. And he introduced her to Ava. This was a chief who brought Ava. And she became addicted to that Ava. And her skin turned gray. And he lost his love, his attraction to her. And so he left. But who was there supporting her all this time but that first love? So last night when we went to Haumea Chronicles, oh my goodness, those stories were so chickens. They were hilarious. We were laughing and crying. Really beautiful stories that were shared, laughing and crying. And this whole conference has been, hit you right here, in the Na'au and the Pu'umai from this. So this story of Kamaile, the chiefess of this beautiful valley of Nualolo, is right in there with Haumea Chronicles. Okay. We've come to call this area the Kabua. When we came, it was all overgrown, and through the years we've been cut and clear, cut and clear, cut and clear. We cannot. We're so remote. We don't have any chipper shredder. We don't have any heavy equipment. It's all by hand. This is lo'i here, and right now what's growing in here is abuava. We do have some kalo that has succeeded in the around here, but we also have a resident goat. When we come in, it's almost like 200 goats in this little valley. By the end of the season, it drops to 100 something. There's still far too many goats. These are remnants of Captain Vancouver. When he came in the late 1700s, he was the second British captain after Cook to come. And he dropped off 2 goats, one Kani, one Wahine, with the chief. And the chief put a kapu on them. And we have way too many. They caused tremendous erosion. But I wanted to point out, you see this la'i? This is original. That's from that valley. We had Pat Kirsch, Dr. Patrick Kirsch is an archaeologist. He came to Kauai. He came on a work trip with us. And he had a graduate student named Anya Hinkle. Anya wrote her dissertation on cordyline fructosa, on tea leaves. And I'm thinking, tea leaves, it's so plentiful. Why? She broke it down to the DNA. They traced this particular one to a small population in Moorea. Kahomeopere. So we have known for years, we've known for generations, we've known for centuries the stories of Pele coming from Kahiki to our islands. These plants came with her. And then the noni, this is all noni, that was there. Someone else came along, did a study on the noni. The noni also came from Moorea. I could do a whole thing just on the botany of this place, but my focus today is on other things. Next. State parks planted these coconut trees in 1959, 1960, because they thought a Hawaiian place should have coconuts. Not in Alo'i, not in all this rock work. the kupuna didn't plant the new, where they had put tremendous effort into building this kahua. This is about five levels thick. And when you go on this layer here, it's sloped. It's sloped, it's paved and sloped. All those flat stones slope. When you stand up there, anybody below can see you. They can see whatever you're doing. And the acoustics in this area, because of the pali, just carry you. You can only over here, and they're going to hear you at the landing. Wow. That's how those acoustics work so beautifully in this area. So over the years, we have had so much kokua in this place. It's so tremendous because if I had to pay these guys, oh my gosh, I'd be fundraising forever. And they come in and they kokua us. This is George Grimm in the tree, and I forget this boy's name.
Kilo.
Yeah, Kilo Wong, yeah. And he's so gentle. Gentle, just lower him down easy. Okay, next. And then the work crew comes in and hapai, hand to hand. I can bring in, I used to be able to bring in 15 people on my work permit. On my special use permit, because there's no camping in this area. There's no kayak landing, no camping. So you have to have a special use permit to camp there, land there. I can take in 14 people now on the boat. And we work, we come in early morning the first day, set up camp, do a little bit hana. And then next day, solid, next day, solid, next day, solid. And the fifth day, we close camp and go home. But it is so beautiful, and this is the kind of kokua we've been having there all these years. This false komani tree we took down too, because we wanted to, next slide. This is a well, and we've tested this water. This water is fresh water. You could drink it if you didn't have gold kukai inside. And it probably did use it as a source of fresh drinking water. But what's cool about this, when the geologists have come in, they've told us that the level of the natural level of the land, this is all dug out. They dug down to the aquifer. And that same water over here, the lo'i is over here, that same, they dug it down. And these water-worn stones all came from Makai. The angular ones came from the pali. But the water-worn stones came from Makai. Smart people, a lot of work. We estimate that the population in the village was 150, 200 people. And it could have maintained that. Some seasonal. There's a lot of travel between Ni'ihau, Nihoa, and Monolokai. All the northern parts of Kauai. That kind of triangular sailing. And this kahua faces Papahānaumoku. And I brought my halau in. Gosh, this was just a year ago, May. Because one of, in addition to restoring the archaeology of the site and restoring the culture and returning to the use of this place. And so I named my halau Napua Okamaile. And I take them in every year to do service learning. They come in, pull weeds, make lays, sing songs, do chants, hula, and then they graduate. Next. Yeah. Pi'ilani Kali is going to be a sophomore at UH Manoa. Stephanie here, Sturry, is at UH Manoa, second year. This one's at Azusa, and one goes to Oregon, one goes to Linfield. They have to make their uli uli. They have to make their feather lei. They have to make their leipo'o. And this is all made from pohinena that grows along the beach.
And they made it that morning.
And they made it, and it's prolific there.
They made it that morning.
Yeah, they made it that morning. That's good. Yeah. So, okay, next. Okay. Chinese 16. We were trying to figure out when we started to do this. This is another site. This is the beginning of the restoration of Halava. That's called Kaunapueo. This is a tumble of rocks, tumble of reeds, but we kept tripping over it. We knew something was there, but it was blown out by a tsunami many, many years before, many, many years. So I've gone up on the tsunami website and looked at how many waves have hit the northern coast of Hawaii. Oh, it just goes way back, tons. But we knew something was there, so we began to clean, clear, weed. Next. And then Moana and Victoria Wickman, they came in, and because we had to learn, about the archaeology of this place. You want to talk about this one?
Prior to doing any kind of restoration, what we do first is we do some excavation at the base of the rocks. Prior to this, we had already put in a test pit that went down over a meter and a half, and we couldn't finish it. It was so deep because it was only this big and we couldn't dig anymore. Less than a meter down, we ended up with slabs of limestone. So there's a paving somewhere under there. We hit about 4 different layers, cultural layers, going down, and we haven't finished. So there's something else that was there before this. However, this particular site has Niho stones, upright stones, as its foundation, and we were lucky enough that although it got blown up, the foundation remained. And it was deep enough so that we could go ahead and we could find it. It was maybe about 30 centimeters, this big, 30 centimeters below in the sand that it had been either buried or because of the tsunami had carried more sediment on it. There was a number of things that we found, a number of artifacts, but anyway, she'll show you more.
And this is uhu. We found a lot of uhu.
Yeah.
And Victoria, she got her master's on Aotearoa, and she specialized in fish bones. Hi, hello, my dear. Okay, I'm looking at the clock and I'm realizing I'm going too slow, so I'm gonna zip it up. Okay, and so they came in. You see, remember that jumble of stones? And they started to work. Okay? Billy Fields came in and gave the boys a quick course. Next. But when they walked on the wall, and a lot of them are in Snowbird's Halal. When they walked on the wall, it was mushy. So they came back the next year, they rebuilt that whole wall, top to bottom. And then here they're making progress. But see these Niho stones? A lot of these were pa'a. They were there already. Okay, next.
Are they coral?
Yeah,
Yes.
limestone.
Limestone.
Yeah, from that area right in front of the camp, the pine trees.
I just want to say something about this particular one that they did. On the outside, those are new, but what they did was they preserved, on the inside, they preserved the width of the original wall and the angle of the original wall. So that foundation is still there.
It's beautiful. These are two of my titas, my classmate, Ella May, Localia, who was here, and they were cleaning these coral. Yeah, and then you're going to see where they placed them. The boys placed them. Yeah, right here.
Oh.
And then there's another one back here. Oh, how beautiful. And on top here, oh my goodness, we have some beautiful, beautiful stones. Kahele Lani has come in and helped us. And you know, it's really cool. The boys welcome her to work right along with them. And I love that. They tower over her. So this is the finished, the restoration here.
Do you have a picture of the pu'ea?
Yeah. And the facing stone on the right-hand side, on the west side, in the late afternoon, is the face of a pu'ea. And then if you go up here in the mountain, on the cliff, you see pu'ea up here too. And as your eyes get used to it, there's pu'ea all over that cliff. So it was Kale Naismith, who gave us the name of Kaunapueo. I have to move along. Okay, so as part of our restoration is educating our next generation. And so these haumana from Kawaikini and from the Kekula Iha came in, and Randy Wickman here is showing them this tool. You don't talk about the tool, so we'll keep moving. Yeah, you know, sharpening. All right. On the east side of the pali are these terraces. We call them the Ali condos. Because it's so dry over there, so quiet, and so there's some beautiful pieces of kapa that came from Molokai, from these areas here in Bishop Museum. And they were preserved because it was dry, very dry over here in this pali. And it is in the shade most of the day, but late afternoon they bake, yeah. Okay, go. All right, Makitas. Oh, these guys. Lou Niheo Curdy from Nihao. Okay. Keep going, I gotta move. And so finally, I'm gonna wrap up my section of this. On July 20th, we had the honor of hosting Hokulea in Molokai, because they were training for their worldwide voyage, and we were so pleased that they could come in for a day. And they came in early that morning. They spent the day with us, spent the night, and then they had to leave the next day. So we held an aha'awa for them on the kahua. These are these young men here. I have a better picture of them. Okay. And because this has been so much a focus on Hina and the women and the kokua that we've had from the women and my friends in Molokai, I had to at least show our young Kane, these beautiful, young, healthy boys, all from Westside Kauai.
She knew you guys wanted some eye candy.
Oh, they're so gorgeous. They're so healthy, you know. Healthy boys. And many of them are papas now. Yeah, Haina Moku is a papa. Paleki Flores, his brother Kiaka. This is Tano Wong. Yeah. Daniel Wong. And of course, Kia Smith. Kia was born and raised on the west side. He graduated from Waimea High School, went to UH Manoa, and he got his doctorate at University of Waikato. He just got his doctorate this year. So these are Las Kahelelani. That's my next generation. Okay, now we're going to switch to Moana's presentation and continue our.
Where do I put this?
Oh, you never put them in yet. Oh, golly, okay. Okay, so this is my turn. Give me my glasses. Okay, hold on just a second. Why don't you talk to them while I do this?
All right. Nu'ulo'okai, Nu'ulo'aina are two parts of one ahupua. This ahupua, well, we know what the ahupua are, okay? What they do, what the ahupua does in the Hawaiian tradition is a land division, and it affords the inhabitants in that ahupua its daily needs. As you saw, the Nu'ulo'okai is backed by Kamaile, so it's a very shallow, the largest is maybe about 100 meters at its greatest depth. And so, but it has this really huge reef in the front, and I think you guys saw that, you saw the huge reef, and she talked about, how going around into Nu'ulo'aina, because Nu'ulo'aina does not have a reef. So one side has a lot of fishing, the other side has a permanent stream.
What do you have it under?
A work in progress PPT. Is that yours? That's mine.
No, that's yours. Your legs are right.
Yeah.
Okay, sister, you know how to do this. Okay,
Try it.
try this one.
Yeah, try
Oh,
that.
okay.
No, not that one.
Oh, let's see what that is. holomua.
That's what I.
This one. Okay, sorry. Technically challenged.
Here we go.
Oh, good, okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna make this big.
Well, I'm gonna use my sugar.
Okay. Remember that? Just remember. Island of Kauai. Right at this corner here is the north side of Kauai. It's all blue. Is Nu'ulo'aina and Nu'ulo'kai. Next, please. This is what you see. This is Nu'ulo'kai. This is Nu'ulo'aina. And this is the reef. This is no reef. This is where we land. And like she said, this is how we get to it. Okay, next slide. So you see, and this is where we land. And this is what we call the Musubi Rock. And what you do is you aim for one or the other side of it.
You don't want to kiss that rock.
Yeah. It's a big rock. Okay, next. And here is where we land. And this is what we come in on. This is what we go out on. Right, next.
So you gotta play Susie C.
So, what do? We come in, and then what we do is we get to go into the stream, and we get to take a nice little fresh water. We suffer the whole time we're in there.
Yeah, because this is why.
Then we pack all of the ukana, which we swam in with, repacked on the beach. Then we hike it up over into this place. Could you go back 3 slides, please? One more. We hike through here, climbing up. We hike through here all the way, and then we end up
More far back.
at about, well, to take our swim, to rinse off, we take up over here. So this is where we go. We could climb up to here. We could climb the cliffs up to there, but nobody will follow me.
Pardon me, you don't do this.
So instead we have to climb all the little rocks, and then we hike back along the stream, up through some of these cliffs to, next slide, to our campsite, where we have a little running stream, but we don't drink directly out of the stream. We do take some sterilization stuff, but further back, maybe about 15 minutes back, is a spring, and that's where we collect our water. Okay, next. One of the things that we went to is, you can see all of these. So when we climb in, it's actually going backwards, but as we climb in, you're feasted to all of this right there. That's all of the terrace. This is part of the terrace. This area, oh wait, not yet. This area was mapped, this whole section, all the way down to this dog leg, was mapped in 1983 by state parks. And that's because they had been, somebody asked for a permit for use of that area, but they really haven't been back there.
Yeah, we don't support any commercial use of this valley.
Okay, next. So you turn around and you come in, and this is what you get to see. You get to see all of this. And this is a very, very many large acreage of Hawaii. You can see that what she showed you in Nu'ulo'kai and that reef, and you can see sort of like the taro growing area and of Nu'ulo'aina. So these two areas work in tandem. When I first went back there, what I wanted to do was look for some archaeological sites that would tell me, yes, these are related, because in archaeology, that's kind of, we do comparisons and contrasts, and we say, oh yeah, well this we can find over there, and so therefore they're so related because they have the same builders. Next. And in fact, what we do is we see some of these things along the Pali, and we see some house lots that are in the front. Next one, please. This is what she was talking about, the Pali house lots, the ali'i condos in Nu'ulo'kai. Okay, next. And this is what we find in Nu'unu'aina. Up against the Pali, and we have these large built-up walls and flats that are house lots in there. Okay. And we have some shrines that are right along the stream, but these shrines, some of them, actually we don't really find these in Nu'unu'kai, but we don't have the stream either in Nu'unu'kai. Okay, so basically, so now where we're working, this is the dogleg that I was showing you on the previous one that goes up, and this is where we are working now. We have site 5, and I'll talk to you guys about that, and we have this habitation site. And this is where we camp, so we have to take this long walk with all of our stuff, and it's really hot.
Oh, the traffic.
This is part of Site 5. This is a large flat, and these are all, you can see these are enclosures. They stand about yay high to you, but they are small enclosures. At this point, we're not really sure what they're for, but they're different, and this is what has previously been called the religious area within Nu'unu'aina. Okay.
So it's not like the enclosures we see down Kai where you put the pu'a on.
No, these are actually a little bit higher and a little bit bigger. This is where they are. This is the large flat that you were just looking at. These are those enclosures. I am mapping a complex that's right above this area right here. And there's a possible shrine that's back here and 2 house, probably habitation sites that's right about here. These are terraces. As you can see, they're terraces that match what we had just seen. And this is from the cave, and I'll show you the cave. Okay. This is the area that I am mapping. Okay, and you can see, I'm sorry, but there's an opening right here. This is about this wide. Okay, you can't tell, but it's about this wide. It's a small fronting platform prior to this small little enclosure that's there. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but you have these alignments. 1, 2, 3. You can't really walk on them, you know, but this is what they fronted. And then there's a small little recessed area right here. You can see this comes out in the front there, this comes out in the front there, and then there's a small flat right here. Okay, next. Again, you can see it. Here's a small flat, this is it. Here are the alignments. They're not for walking, but instead there is a trail that leads to the top along the back over there. And yes, we map every single one of those rocks.
Is that air plant?
Huh?
Air plant?
Yes, air plant. When we clean this off, we clean off the lantana. This whole area is covered in lantana. Once we clean it off from the lantana, the air plants start coming back. They're easier to clean, but you know, there's this, I mean, what do we do? So we try to actually lessen the cleaning of the lantana. We keep it, as you can see, it's on the side, and then what we do is we put it back onto the site. One is because the lantana keeps the goats away. And when the goats start walking all over it, that's when we start to destroy sites. Here is one of the feeder drainages that goes into the stream along here. This is the site that I was just talking about. This is a very prominent boulder that's on the side of it, and this is where what I just showed you, the position of it. What I wanted to show you actually through here is the work that we did. This summer, and it's this cave. This cave overlooks the entire back part of the valley. You can't see it from that dogleg from the first part when you come in, but this cave right here is so prominent you can see it from all over here. And in fact, that site that I told you when we were looking down, that's where we took it from. So this summer, we climbed this to get back here. One of the reasons why is because from down below, nobody else could see, but we could see, I could see, you see, and once somebody points it out, you'll see that there's structure here. There's a wall here, or a platform, and it looked like the platform would extend the level of the cave, and there's a small structure here and a small structure here. So we were wondering what they were. Everybody was saying, is it a burial cave? And I didn't think so. It didn't seem like it would be, because one is that it's shallow, and we don't usually have this kind of structure that's in front of these caves, because, you know, it kind of calls attention to them. So, here I am giving direction to everybody, telling them what to do. Anyway, here is what you saw. This is a small platform. It does indeed extend the floor of this cave. Here is a small circular structure, and it's repeated a little bit over here and some that's over here, and we find two more that's on this side. At first when I walked in, I thought that when I just saw this one right there, I thought, well, what we have is a fireplace, because it was kind of round and had maybe a missing rock. But as you see, that pattern is actually repeated here, back here, and small one kind of like in here, and two more over there. They are about an arm length wide and, well, circular, so it's about like this. But there's a rock missing in each one. In each structure, there is a rock missing that is on this side. So towards the cave, there is a rock missing. I don't think that it's because goats, although we have a lot of goats feces up there, I don't think that it's because goats messed them up, because it would be too much to have all the structures have one rock missing in the same place. Plus, I can't find the rock. You know, it would still be there.
So it didn't roll down the hill?
No, because it would have, it kicked out from behind there, so it would still be there. If it had rolled down the hill, I would have expected it to have rolled down through the structure and had more damage to the structure. And so, I'd like to tell you that once we're finished with our work during the daytime, we have to suffer and sleep to this. And this is our night sky for us. Okay, anyway, thank you.
So we wanted to open, say for a few minutes for Nina. Kuka. Do you have any questions? Either.
So that the Wahine Kuhinapapa, is that up on the ridge line above Nunuolokai? Or is it at the ridge?
Oh, the kahua. The
Yeah.
kahua. Oh,
We don't really discuss it.
The Kuhinapapa.
it's off the trail.
It's up.
So, I mean, the tourists don't go there.
But it's Makai side.
Yeah, it's down in Makai. Okay.
Do you have any idea what would be the relationship between Nu'ulokai, or Nu'ulono period, and Hanalei, where there was so much coal cultivation? I mean, why did they venture out there? Do you have any?
Well,
I mean, it's just a guess, but it's an interesting placement.
what do you mean? You mean for there? I mean, because it's, well, one is that it's a whole different holomua. It belongs to the Waimea, rather than this killer whale. But also, what it is this whole part of the island is more associated with Niihau. In fact, Kamaile, one of the reasons why why Hokulea went to Nu'ulokai is because Kamaile is it's a point, it's a navigation point that takes you to Niihau. And through there, in fact, through that channel is one of their points that takes them towards Kahiki. So that's where they would go through, other than say between Maui and Sarah. Yes.
Just looking from after a question, what is the distance between Pupukahi on Niihau and Kamaile on Ni'olomo?
You know what, I don't know, I've been given the, distance of like 25 miles.
I just asked that question because in Kohala, that's the same thing for us. We have a kukui in Kohala, but that kukui is actually related to Kukui Ula Bay in Maui, outside of Hamoa. So it's not necessarily for us that it's linking us to Kohala, it's linking us to Maui. And when you look back at the genealogy of the people in Kukui come from Kukui Ula and Maui opposed to Kohala.
I was just telling them about the link of Waimea side to Niihau,
Oh, yeah.
and how Kamaile is a navigation point that takes you to Niihau. And she was just asking about the distance between that and Pu'ulai, the point, and and I guess it's relationship between the two.
Yeah.
But the distance between where we have Kukui Ula and Kukui is about 25 miles.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
So again, just going back to the question that I did not.
But I'm sure it's probably already discussed, but with the stuff I did with students on Hawaii is we talk with the students who actually, their families come from there. So these are areas that were like fully inhabited and they weren't like leaving. This was a home. And so it has to have loyalty to sustain people.
Oh, and no. Actually, we swim around because it's actually.
Oh, we didn't talk about the ladder.
It's actually easier for us to swim around than it is for us to climb this. This is called Alapi'i Point for a reason. And
There was a rope ladder there on this point. It was about 35, 40 feet long. It was made of holomua fibers.
Wow.
And they actually had a picture of it in the late 1800s when cameras first came out. Somebody went in there and photographed it because it was still hanging. And I don't know where the pictures are of the ledge. We've only had one friend crazy enough to come down that way. But he said from Nu'ulono either side, when you finally find the right path, it's worn satin smooth. And it comes along the cliff. And then there's a chute that comes down. But he said all the handholds, he's got a big chested guy with long arms, long legs, but they were all, you have to punch. And he got all scraping his opu because he was bigger. And the pictures you see of late 1800s, the Kani, and the people in there, Vivi. You figure you gotta work this hard to live in a place as beautiful as this. You're gonna be Vivi. And shorter, much more small. And he'd have to jump the last 45 feet. Because it's concave, yeah. The cliff comes out like this, puka. And we've talked about restoring the ladder. I would feel better if they just swim. But that was a major route between Aina and Kai, especially in the wintertime, was down that cliff in the ladder.
in fact, Bennett talks about how it was going through a very thin, for him it was a very narrow ledge, and he was taking his time. But as he was taking his time, he said, the natives would just run past me, sometimes two at abreast, and make it up there, and they were waiting for him at the top. So he says that for the natives, it's no problem. But for him, he had a problem. Over. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, finish.
Well, I was just going to say that this area, you can see she pointed out Kamaile. In one of the stories, they would watch people come from here, and in less than 20 minutes, they would be up here getting ready for the Wahine.
The firebrands. It's one of the places on Kauai where the papala. The papala sticks were lit, and when the papala is dry, it has puka inside. You light them inside, and the flames come out back. So they would throw them off of this cliff, Kamali, in honor of visiting Ali. Like Kapiolani or Emalani or Kamuli or any of the chiefs.
Kahemea was said to have stopped, to specifically have gone there
Actually,
this way.
Kamehameha never reached them to Kauai. Maybe it's the second, Kamehameha the second. So Kamaile and Makana on North Shore were the two peaks where they threw the Wahine.
Where is Makana in respect to Kamehameha?
Wait, wait, wait.
Oh, it's way over. It's
Isn't more
where's your
Kamehameha?
paper? It's right there. Yeah, Kamaile. Okay, this is Anale. You go past Waipa, Waikoko, Yumuhuli, Wainiha, Haena. So it'll be around here. And so the trail goes here to Kalalau. That's the big valley here, Kalalau. Oh no, this is Kalalau.
Yeah,
This is
yeah, it is
over
called.
here. But the trail ends here. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
17 miles. 11 miles. It's a hairy trail. I did it once, enough. Now I go by boat. Still prefer.
Sorry, you had a question.
Yeah, I have two questions. I've heard, I don't even know where, that this was a summer village. Is that true?
Oh, you know, as the economics changed, as the plantations came in, people moved out of these valleys to get, quote, full-time work. We have several families who are descended from the original inhabitants. Main one is Uncle Patty Malama family. He's our traditional Konehiki of Nualolokai, Nualolo, and the whole Nepali coast. He taught many of the young men and women who worked the coast, either fishing or the commercial boats. He taught them the currents, the koa. He's so ma'a, he can navigate nighttime just by following the ridge lights. Because he, got him memorized. And he's the one who brought in the Eevee. We did 1, 2, 3 reinterments, and Uncle Patty has always been there to compose the burial council and the effort.
My other question is, I think you said 5 sites that look like it could have been cooking sites, but they're not. What do you think they are? Your guess.
They weren't even.
No, they weren't. It's because they sit right on the rocky ledge with a very thin layer of soil. I'm going to take a stab, and I think that it was a housing for kiwi.
Housing what?
I think it was a housing for kiwi.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sometimes you find big puka. And if we did the botany of that puka, we would probably find the remains, the wood, what kind of wood they're used in the ki'i. Because Molokai is in such shadow half the day. And we also talked with Keone Smith and the guys that main kahua, the main platform that's 5 layers thick. And because heiau are normally places that were enclosed, where you couldn't see necessarily all the action that was going inside, there's other sites up the slope that are more enclosed. And in one of them, there's this, we used to have a huge clump of tea that grew here. And it's, the goats have eaten that tea now, that la'i. But where the la'i was growing is a round, big puka, like this. And we think there was a key in there.
Let me show you this once again. Okay, here. We are looking from the cave down to this area. Prior to that, you see these are all the enclosures. This is the large soil-filled terrace. This is over, well, it's larger than this room.
Which part?
This large flat right here.
Oh yeah.
It's larger than this room. What fronts it right there is a long, thin, it's maybe about a little bit of this length of this room. And it lays maybe about a little bit over a meter wide. and it stands 1 meter high. It's an enclosure. It's an enclosure that runs the length of this, like here, the length of this, and there's an opening on this side that leads you onto this flat right there.
So you don't think it was get the puka for the pola?
Not here. I didn't see this because it is. It's just one long enclosure, and it's associated with some of these enclosures.
You know, I have a new. I've developed over the years a new respect for pohaku, because when we went to Molokai for the Makahiki, and they took us up Mauka, and you see that it's a kapa heiau. Yeah, naiva, and all the pohaku, and they would lay their kapa on top of the pohaku to dry. So how smart. And another area we went to, it was said to have been, garden. It's all pohaku. Pohaku mulch. I'm thinking of using pohaku mulch in several of our, at my school because I'm tired pulling the weeds. Pohaku. And it was carried there and placed there for a specific purpose that we in our modern mind, look at that. Wow. But they had used it.
And it keeps the moisture.
Yeah.
That's part of it. It keeps the moisture in.
Yeah, because these valleys are actually, we're on the leeward side and it's on the dry.
How deep are the puka that you're talking about in the cave?
They're actually not that deep. They're one course high. The highest rock is maybe about 20 centimeters. So you put your hand together like this, that's about 20 centimeters. So that's about how high the highest point is.
So not that high?
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's not that large. But it's also not that windy in there. That once you get up into that cave, it seems like it would be windswept, but it really isn't. You're quite protected in there.
And there was one cave that we found up there, and the whole floor of the cave was littered with white poo. I'm looking at that. I'm thinking, what? And my friend said, peanuts. Poo. Those beautiful little white shells. Old.
Yeah.
Up there a long time, and I don't think it was a bird.
No, we do have those up there. And we have food remains that are up there, but I don't think it was a habitation. It's not.
It's a great place to watch all the action coming and going, and protect yourself if you have to.
And the reason why I think is because it overlooks this special area that's right here. I mean, that's the area that, like I said, I'm working on a possible shrine up here. There's the habitations that are right here. These habitations are large. They're not as impressive as the ones up against the pulley that I showed you in the beginning. But one of the things that you notice, and I didn't show you the pictures of when we were trying to map this place and we were pulling tape, you would actually have to wait for the wind to stop blowing so you could get the tape and you could get an accurate measure, because it would blow the tape almost 3 meters off course in the center. So we'd have to wait and we'd wait and we go, now! Hurry up, take your measurement. But this area, and you can see why. It's just the area that just bends around the corner. And so this whole area is just a windswept area. Yet, at the cave, it's very protected.
One of the ho'okupu that we gave yesterday, that Wahine gave yesterday, was vai from the spring in Wahine. And Uncle Kelvin Hall leads Pupukahi there. He has led a Pupukahi now for the last 8 years. He was going to go 7 years and then bow. Every solstice, June 21st, every solstice, he would take a crew of people in. And on that day, he calls all the helicopter companies. He says, no fly zone for this day. And they honor that request. And he takes everyone up to way in the back to the spring water that comes out of the mountain and collects by. So that was one of our hope yesterday. Well, you know what? We've gone a few minutes past our time, but we mahalo you. Your interest.
Yeah, I think it's the very opposite when we go helicopter companies call each other and say, they're back there. Go now.
What was the last habitation there? The last people that left?
Turn of the century.
Yeah, the turn of the century, 1916, 1913, 1916 is when they officially say is when the last people were actually living there. Although throughout the whole century, you've always had people going back there. Like you said, it's a summer village, camping, things like that. So the people of the West End have always been living there.
Okay, if I just drag this through my trash.
Yeah.